There you are. I wondered when you'd turn up. Your finger's been hovering over the different podcasts you could choose. Should we do Brydon and? Should we do The Rest is Politics? Well, thank you for pressing my button and choosing this from the many thousands of podcasts that are available. Today on Brydon and, we talk to Steve Pemberton, who I've known since about 2001, League of Gentlemen, so many other things. Most recently, Inside No.9, which is wonderful and which I remind him in the course of our conversation I'm desperate to appear in. I don't think that I'm any closer to achieving that, but I tried. We talk about a lot about the early days of them up in Edinburgh and what it's like to be at the Edinburgh Festival with other people who at that point are unknown and then go on to become household names. He talks quite movingly about his father, who didn't want him to go into a life of performance, but did live long enough to see them, the boys, winning the coveted Perrier Award for comedy at the Edinburgh Festival. It's a great chat. It's quite a long chat. I think you'll enjoy it. So lie down, put on your eye mask, and enjoy Brydon and Steve Pemberton.
Hello.
Hey, Steve. Oh, that's a pleasing sight.
Well, I'm glad you think so.
I've been looking forward to this. I don't want you to feel any pressure, but I was thinking, I'm doing Steve. That'll be good.
Yeah, and you've got Reese tomorrow.
I have, and I've already done Mark. I mean, Jeremy must be quaking in his boots.
He is. I know he is. Me and Reese always have this funny thing, 'cause we use the same hairdresser. Can we call it a hairdresser? Well, he's a head.
Yeah.
And whenever one of us goes in first, and he asks all the questions, what are you up to? And the other one's like, what am I going to talk to the hairdresser about now? You've done it. So you are the hairdresser today. And I'm getting in first. I'm really pleased.
Well, look, I'm not going to say that there's a pecking order in the way these interviews have been arranged, but it's no coincidence that I've come to Pemberton first.
Absolutely, right in the middle, the meat of the sandwich.
And when I speak to Reese, I'll say, Reese, there is no pecking order, but there's no coincidence that I've saved the best till last.
Absolutely, yeah.
Where are you?
I am at home. I'm at home in my home office.
You are Minister for the Home Office, and behind you we can see DVDs, books.
Yeah.
It's a high-backed leather office chair.
Yes.
You're wearing, I think, possibly a denim shirt with a comfy knit over it.
Absolutely.
Yes. So you're very much towing the line there sartorially. You're not making any statements. You're saying, I'm a safe pair of hands. And yet, Mr. Pemberton, I put it to you that your work has such a deep stream of
effluent,
perversion and swimming against the tide and saying the unsayable. What do you say to that?
Absolutely. Well, I can get it all out in the work. So, I can dress, my nickname at drama school where I met Mark was Norman Normal.
Is that true?
Yes. Well, I say nickname. I mean, but 2 or 3 people called it to me because I had the most, and still do, appalling dress sense or very little interest in how I presented myself. But I used to wear these sort of supermarket jeans, dreadful sort of cut price Asda sweatshirts. And I had no identity in how I presented myself and never have, because I love playing the characters. We've started, by the way. We've jumped straight in.
Or Steve, it's the way... No, this is the way Brydon rolls. Brydon just hits the ground with his guest. And if that guest isn't ready, well, hey, they're the loser. Absolutely. But you've slid into this with customary ease. Let me pick up on something that you said. It made my mind race.
Go on.
You said I used to wear Asda jeans and it reminded me that, and I think we often forget this, how we evolve.
Yeah.
There were always dandies at school. There were always kids that had a dress sense, blah, blah, blah. But most people don't. And I can remember I would get my jeans at Burton's, and I look back, there's just a normal, what I call the open prison look, the sweatshirt, and I wasn't that, and then you start to evolve. And I can remember a time in my life when Next for Men was, for me, the height of sophistication.
Yeah, agreed. I think I got my first ever suit from Next, which was a kind of sludge brown affair. Because, and this is interesting, it was the first time I think we'd been to an awards ceremony. We were invited to the South Bank Show Awards, and it may be the first time we ever met.
Which year would that have been, Steve?
Well, if I remember rightly, we were there for the League of Gentlemen, so that we're talking that debuted in 1999. It could have been for our live performance, which we'd done in Edinburgh, 96, 97. So sometime late 90s. And you were picking up, I think, a drama award for Marion and Jeff. And we chatted about how that had been put into the drama category and ostensibly a comedy. Was that the first time we met? I think it might have been.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. And that would have been either 2000 or I think that would have been 2001.
Okay.
And so that may have been, that's where I met Claire. That's where I met my wife, although not that year. I think I met her the following year, because the following year they invited, I think, the previous year's winners back. I may have presented one that year. I don't know. And that year, so the year before I met you, and then the following year I met Claire and I met Elvis Costello the same day, which was pretty exciting.
Well, the South Bank Show Awards, for those people unfortunate enough not to have been, you do get this very eclectic mix. So you're not just dealing with comedy people or television people. It's very refreshing. You can be sitting next to an architect, an author, a pop star. I think the first time we went, I was sitting next to the late, great Jack Rosenthal. And he'd just written this play about a boy from Blackburn who meets a girl from Cheltenham. I think it's called Eskimo Day.
Yes.
And I was there with my partner Alison, who is from Cheltenham, and I'm from Blackburn. So we had a lot to talk about.
But those awards, the best awards, because as you said, you meet all those people. So that's how I got to know you. Now, did you already know Julia? Did you know Julia Davis already?
Very possibly from a party I'd been to, so didn't know her. I think it must have been through watching Human Remains, which again,
that had gone out. That had gone out in the autumn of 2000. But you knew David, didn't you? You knew David Williams.
We'd met David and Matt in Edinburgh. So Edinburgh, we first went with the League of Gentlemen to Edinburgh in 1996. And just prior to that, we'd seen a couple of, and we had no agent or backer or nothing. We'd taken ourselves up. No one knew who we were. And we'd seen a couple of preview shows, one of which was in Highgate, Jackson's Lane, Matt Lucas and David Williams. And me and Reese went to see it, and we thought, wow, why are we even bothering going to do our little sort of character pieces? They were so funny. I think Matt was doing Bernard Chumley at the time, and we didn't have the courage to go and speak to them. But when we were in the famed Pleasance Courtyard in Edinburgh, you go there, you don't know anybody, you're quite shy, and some people were very, very kind. Armstrong and Miller, very kind to us, gave us lots of nice advice. Mel and Sue we met there, and David and Matt, and we've been firm friends ever since.
There's a mistaken belief, it's sometimes true, that the comedy world is a catty world, but I think that more so, in my experience, it's a very supportive world. I think there's a kind of almost a siege mentality of listen, very few people do this, and it's not easy. And I think people are very encouraging, with some exceptions, but encouraging and supportive. And I think that people listening to this now, maybe there's bound to be young people listening to this, because it's my podcast. No, they're going to be young people listening to this because they want to, as I would have done when I was young. I want to listen to these people who've had some success. How do they do it? They find out. And to hear you saying that you went to see David and Matt, and you, with everything that you've done since, thought, how could we ever go and do our thing, is a lovely reminder of how fragile a performer can be. Because to me, that's, crazy that you could see anything that would make you think that when you look at your body of work.
Well, yeah, of course, you didn't have a body of work. At that point, you were just, we were four relatively youngish. I say young. We were sort of mid to late 20s. We'd been out of Bretton Hall where we met, for a few years, auditioned for children's theatre and not got the parts. And really, we just had this friendship and this common sense of humor and this common goal to go and give it our best shot, really. And we never thought of ourselves as part of any gang or part of any group. So, but yeah, you have no idea when you're taking a new show to Edinburgh how it's going to be received, especially if you don't have any hype, you don't have anything to put on your posters, you don't have any quotes you can use to bolster yourself. And we had 3 people in our first audience in Edinburgh. And of course, because who's going to come and see this thing called The League of Gentlemen, which sounded like it's been lifted out of the Oxford Review or something. And we're all wearing bow ties and dinner suits on the poster. So, we were nervous about that. But within those 4 weeks, our lives changed. It sounds dramatic to say it, but everything came about because of those 4 weeks, Edinburgh 1996.
You make it sound like a Rocky training montage. Was it like that? Was it you start off, you said, Mark came in, he said, we had 3 in last night, I'm not carrying on with this lark. And Rhys said, it's not about you, we've got to carry on, we've got to keep on trying, haven't we? I'm doing Rhys Shearsmith. And you said, come on guys, we've got to believe in ourselves. And the next night there were 4 people. Tell me about how it progressed, the word of mouth spreading around Edinburgh.
Oh, the high watermark for us was about show 4 or 5, where we were getting to the 10, 15 mark. It only seated about 45 people. And, but we'd had a review in the Scotsman, 4-star review, very good review, but it came early. And then we had a show and, Jeremy came, cause he operated the lights and the sound. Jeremy, who didn't want to perform, and he came into the dressing room and said, Griff Rhys-Jones has just walked in.
Wow,
and we were open-mouthed. We couldn't believe it. And at the end, he walked past Jeremy and he said, well done, wonderful show. And he just had this piece of A4 paper, which we gave out, which had, our biographies. And he said, can I contact you via this? And he just went, yes. Of course, there was no contact details on there whatsoever. However, I did then get offered after that Edinburgh, a sketch in Alas Smith and Jones, which I went to film. And, I had one line in this sketch.
Did Ronnie Corbett come to that run of you up there?
He certainly came. I think maybe that was the year after. I can't remember. We only did it for 2 years. The first year we were there, 1996, like I say, we had no agent or backing, and we came away with a pile of business cards from producers, agents, people who were interested, who would give their cards to Jeremy on the way out. And we could not believe, how this was going for us. I remember making, cause me and Rhys shared a flat, at the time. I think he may still have it. We made a board game to amuse ourselves when we were there based on Cluedo. And I think we must have been called Edinburgh Dough. And so you could be in the assembly rooms with the topical comedy. And we had all the different, characters cut out. No, it was the following year. This is the year where we'd established ourselves, and it was who was going to be nominated for the Perrier Award. Remember the Perrier Award and how were you an Edinburgh alumni? Did you cut your teeth in Edinburgh?
I didn't cut my teeth. I polished them because I only went there once I had a bit of a following. I did it in 2000 and either 4 and 5 or 5 and 6. I think it was 4 and 5.
Right.
I'd already had Marion and Jeff, Human Remains, and the Keith Barrett show, so I could sell out the big rooms at so and so. So I kind of cheated, and I stayed in a gorgeous flat near Harvey Nichols, and I would have breakfast of some sort.
You didn't do the proper Edinburgh experience. No, we had.
Well, I tell you what, I did the proper one. I did the proper one in an odd way, right? In the late 90s, about 97, I used to do voices on a Radio 5 show called The Treatment that David Quantick used to do and Jane Bussman used to be on. And I met a lot of people via that. And we went to Edinburgh to do a show, and they had rented a standard flat up there where there would be a bed for me to sleep in. And they had a party on the first night, and I wasn't really a drinker in those days. And it wasn't a wild party, but my standards, there was the people sleeping. And I woke up the next morning. I couldn't go to sleep till 4. I didn't like that. And I packed my little bag up, walked out around all these bodies of comedians and things and this, that, and the other. And I walked they were on the far end down past that hotel where Laurel and Hardy stayed. And then I walked all the way up to is it the Balmoral? What's the nice hotel near the station?
The Balmoral, yeah.
I went into the Balmoral. I was already making money because I was doing a lot of voiceovers. So I could afford this. And I said, hello, do you have any rooms, please? and I checked in there. And within an hour, I was sat by the pool in a fluffy bathrobe eating smoked salmon and scrambled eggs.
How very un-Edinburgh of you, Rob. What a cheap Edinburgh you had. It was a brilliant time to go there and just have all these experiences. Like I say, in just 4 weeks. I remember the first year there, there used to be these people coming around giving free packets of cigarettes away. You won't remember that. All you had to do is come up with a name and an address, and you could give a different one every 2 days. So for those 4 weeks, we all were smoking. Maybe not Mark, but all of us started smoking just because you could get free cigarettes. And then you would, like I say, you'd get the brochure, the Edinburgh brochure that comes out, and you would look who your biggest competition was. And, we made this game. We cut out faces of, Parsons and Naylor. Do you remember Parsons and Naylor? And,
yes,
Johnny Vegas was there, in 97. And we used to play this game, and it was all about you had to see who was going to win the Perrier Award. And we put ourselves in the mix, and sometimes we would win, sometimes we wouldn't. But we got nominated in 1997 against Graham Norton, Johnny Vegas, Milton Jones, and not Al Murray. Yeah, maybe it was Al Murray. And we won. And it was the most astonishing night. And I remember ringing my dad, who had pleaded with me really not to do drama as a degree. Gosh. Because I had, I was doing languages as well at A level, and I come from a background where we never went to the theatre, so there was, this whole sort of notion of being an actor was never part of anyone's plan apart from mine. And, just that moment, where I could ring him, and they used to do the ceremony after midnight, after all the comedian shows had finished. To be able to ring him that midnight and just say, Dad, we won it. And he was so excited and proud. And, sadly he died in 1998. So this is the year after we won. So he knew things were on the up, and he knew he'd been commissioned by the BBC. And I've just never heard him so proud and so excited, as that. So it was, we've won many other things since, but that was an incredibly special night. Yeah.
Well, Steve, 2 words, Billy Elliot.
I didn't have a tutu on, but,
not a literal tutu, but Steve, I can't help thinking a metaphorical one.
Yeah, I would have been dancing round Chorley, where I'm from, with my clogs on.
One of the lovely things about about Edinburgh is discovering people when nobody else knows them. And then all these years later, the thing I always say is one of the years I was there, I think it was the first year, 2004. I remember there was a BBC radio producer whose name I can't remember, but if I told you it, you'd know it. And Claire and I bumped into him in the street. And he said, "Oh, I'll tell you what you've got to go and see." And I said, "What?" He said, "The Flight of the Conchords."
Oh, wow.
I said, "The what of the what?" Because, those words don't go together. The what? And he said, "The Flight of," I said, "Oh, what's that?" He said, "Oh, they do these songs." Oh, okay. And we went and saw them in these little kind of caves or something, and oh my God. And of course they were just incredible. And that's a lovely memory of Edinburgh. You saying that you made that board game to me just reinforces that you four are just weighted down with creativity. I mean, you could have been out shagging. No, you were making board games about the bloody Perrier thing, right? And I mean, I say it in a flippant way, Steve, but I think it's a good point, because look at you guys. You, my God, you've got so much creativity, and also all these years later, it's at the same level. You haven't eased off at all.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. We're just starting now to write the 9th series of Inside No.9, and I can tell you, it's really getting hard. I mean, yeah, we have been going for. We've made a series every year of that show, for the past 9 years. Before that, we did Psychoville, and obviously before that, League of Gentlemen. Which started live and then became radio and then TV. So yes, it has been pretty relentless. And I try to keep, I've got lots and lots of notebooks, what you can see that some of them there behind me. And I've always kept ideas and jotted things down, and I filled up these notebooks. And every year we do Inside No.9, I go and see what inspiration is still within the pages. And I've crossed most of it off. In fact, I've been reading a lot about AI recently in the newspaper. So as an experiment, I thought I will go and see these things where you type in the beginning of a story and it can complete it for you. And it even has a thing saying add a twist. So I was showing it to Reece yesterday. I said, look, maybe series 9 will go the AI route. Just give us an Inside No.9 idea. Give us a twist. We'll give you the basics, fill in the gaps. Yeah, I mean, it does get harder and harder. I don't think you coast the later you go in your career, because you want to keep up that level that you started at, and it's hard.
Well, you know how much I love Inside No.9, and every time I see you, I run into you at things. Maybe I'd say I see you about 3 or 4 times a year, I would say. And I always do a little pitch for myself, and I say, I watch Inside No.9 and I see many of my friends popping up in it. And I say, one thing I notice is I've yet to have the call. And do I now get to the point where I have to give you the actual story idea? It's a middle-aged yet youthful Welsh man dressing like a mid-period Bruce Springsteen, and he's got something of Bruce about him, not just Springsteen but Forsyth, and he goes away for the weekend to a wellness retreat, let's say that, and while he's there, something dark and strange happens. But the main thing is that middle-aged Welsh guy is in it a lot. Now, could you do something with that?
Well, people are always very happy to give us a setting. They're very happy to give us, the first 90 seconds of the show.
Yes.
Of course we could do something with that. A wellness place. We haven't done that before. That is a good setting, but you need 28 more pages of story. No,
that's where chatbot GTI comes in.
Exactly. No, I've said before, we always have to be in it, me and Reece. So the characters who are, middle-aged men, we tend to just cherry pick those for ourselves, leaving.
Listener, let me tell you, listener, this is what he's fobbed me off with on many occasions. It's very much along the lines of, oh, Rob, we would love you, but we write this part and we think Rob, and then of course it's got to be either me or Reese. It's just, and I hear this 3 or 4 times a year, and I shuffle back home to Claire. She'll say, "Did you see Steve today? Did you see Reese?" Well, yes. What did they say? No, they got to play. They got to play those parts themselves. And then she says, "Oh, come here, love," and she envelops me and pats my head.
Well, let me ask you, which of the episodes you would have liked to have been in? Where do you watch it and go, I see myself in that role?
The one with the bill in the restaurant.
Yeah. I know you were Jason.
I could have played Watkins's part. I could have played his part. I could have played Morrissey's. He was in that. No, Glenister was in that, wasn't he?
Glenister, yeah.
I could have played his part.
I could see you more in the Watkins role. With
all right, fine.
He's so good with the little. He folded up his £5 note to shove it to the bottom of the wallet. He was brilliant.
Yes. We can all fold money. We can all find little bits of business, but we have to be in the bloody thing to start with. Okay. I was chatting to Jason by text just yesterday. He's had enough attention from me recently. We could all find little things to do, but we have to be in the damn thing first, Steve. And I feel that I'm not being given the opportunity.
I'd say that as a challenge. And, we love a challenge on Inside No.9. Not that it would be a challenge to work with you. We would love that. We would make it. So, yes. Okay, I'll bear it in mind.
All right. You said that you started out doing the Gentleman live, then it went radio. Now, you are going to be at the Duke of York's Theatre. Now, who appeared? Steve Pemberton, for 2 points, who appeared at the Duke of York's Theatre with the play American Buffalo in around about 1983 or 1984. Who was it? David Mamet play American Buffalo, the Duke of York's Theatre. Who was it? Steve Pemberton.
I remember, I know the play American Buffalo because I was in it at Bretton Hall. And it's a three-hand.
Who did you play? Who did you play, Steve? Who did you play when you were in it?
I played the young kids. There's one called Teach. And there's an old guy who runs a sort of coin. He writes those coins. And there's a younger, and I can't remember the character's name.
Let me give you a clue as to who played in this. They played the lead role. Ready?
Yes.
Oh, it's a buffalo, but it's American.
Amazing. It can only be Al Pacino.
I thought you were going to go for a comedy thing. You're going to say, was it Don Estelle? But you didn't. You went, Pacino. He played at the Duke of York. So when you are doing it, this new thing, you're going to have the spirit. I mean, he's still with us, thank God, at the time of recording. You're still going to have the spirit of Pacino there. Tell us about the play.
Well, it's a play called The Pillowman by Martin McDonagh. One of his,
he knows what he's doing.
One of his first plays. A lot of people will know him latterly as an amazing screenwriter and director. Banshees of Inisherin is going to clean up at the awards this year. 3 billboards in Bruges. But he has many plays that he's written. This is one of his earliest. It was done at the National Theatre. I think about 20 years ago it was done at the National. But it's never been revived in the West End. So it's a sort of dystopian dark comedy where a writer is accused of there's been some murders of children, and these murders are echoed in the writer's work. So 2 policemen detectives are interrogating this writer to see if there's any correlation between the real murders of children in real life and the murders of children in the work. And it's blisteringly funny. It's so dark. But he also has a lot to say about, the right to write what you want and say what you want, and censorship and all of that stuff, which makes it very relevant to today. So it's I'm really nervous about it, but looking forward to doing it.
Who do you play?
I play one of the detectives. Whose name is Topolsky, and the writer was originally played by David Tennant in the first production of the National, and they have now gender swapped the role, so it's going to be taken by Lily Allen, who I am meeting her next week with any luck. And so I don't know anyone else who's going to be in it now, but myself and Lily Allen.
Well, Lily has a lovely house with David Harbour in, there was just a video online. You should look this up. The Architectural Digest visited her and David. I think it's Brooklyn. Oh, my God. It's if nothing else, Steve, you'll get interior design tips.
Perfect. Because I could do with, like with my dress sense, I could do with, a little bit of help in that regard.
Yeah, I'm not going to challenge that. I left a pause for the laugh, and thank God it came. But you're going to be at the Duke of York's. You know, when you do these and there's a slight delay, sometimes you've got to have such confidence. If you try and say something witty, you've just got to have the confidence to wait for the line to be delivered to you.
Yeah.
And there is a deafening silence while that's happening. But Steve, let me pick you up on this. You're doing the play at the Duke of York's Theatre. That's in London, the capital of Britain, from the 10th of June to the 2nd of September. Now, my first reaction to that is, that's your whole summer.
Yes, it is the whole summer, but, it was meant to happen in 2020, and obviously COVID put paid to that. And they then, there's been so much theatres cancelled, so many shows that were jostling for the slots that became available, and it's been a long time. We've been waiting to get it on, so I wasn't going to argue with that. I'm going to, I had a great summer last year where I kept myself free. I was offered another play last summer.
How does Mrs. Pemberton feel about this? She's
okay with it. Yeah, she's going to take we're going to go away in Easter, and we might go away at Christmas. So you're an actor. You got to roll with it, haven't you? But this is a 3-month run, which is pretty standard for the West End. It's a brilliant play, a brilliant role, and I'm pretty choosy about what theatre I do. I wouldn't want to be working every summer. But as you get to a certain stage in your career, you do want to, you can afford to say no to things, and you can afford to be picky. So,
what age are the 3 children that you claim to have fathered?
They are 22, 19, and 17.
Ah, that's interesting. Okay, so in other words then, are you still doing the family summer holiday thing?
Yes, we cannot shake them off. They definitely want to come away with us. So
they get a higher standard of holiday if they go where mum and dad are going than if they go off their own bats.
Pretty much, but then they also want to do their own holidays and to tap into the bank of mum and dad for that as well. Yeah, we enjoy going away together. I've got a brother who lives in Dubai, and we all went at Christmas. There were 20 of us. All went from my family, my mum, my brothers, and cousins, nieces, nephews. And we have a whale of a time on holiday together because no one's my brother lives there, but, you're all away from home. You're all in holiday mode, and the kids all get together. So, they're very, very precious times going on holiday. And I was a little bit worried about the whole summer holiday thing, but now that we're not so locked into the school holiday stranglehold that they have, there's other things we can do.
Yeah. Okay, that's the decisive part of the argument, because for me, my youngest are still 14 and 11. I try and keep every half term free. Yeah. Every all the summer holidays, I'm quite lucky. I can try and structure my year. But now what's happening is the 14-year-old says, we say, hey, we're going away for half term. He goes, oh, what? Well, I never get to see my friends. Where are we going? And I'm touring Australia, and they're coming out to see me afterwards. What? What, for the whole of the... Oh, God. What are you talking about? You're going to Australia. You're going to New Zealand. This is, they just moan. But I tend to... I tend to keep those... I'm kind of looking forward to, once they've left home, to doing theatre and doing stuff like that. But you're at that age. To be fair, your kids are at the age that I would be. You speak German, you speak French. You did the brilliant German character in League of Gentlemen. You had such a, I mean, it's a dull old question about where do these things come from, Steve, but I do want to know what you see as you're going about your daily life, and what you see that makes you go, oh, I could be. I sometimes see someone in the street and I go, oh, I could play him. I could look a bit like him, right? How much is your radar on a daily basis?
Well, like I say, I do make notes of things. So we are constantly, Reese and I, going around Muswell Hill where we write, going, could that be a number 9? And we'll pass a couple of very odd looking people, and you're not sure if they're mother, daughter, 2 sisters, or what they are.
Right.
We've got the cross-dressing thing for a long time, since League of Gentlemen now, but anyone could be a great character. And it's usually starting from the writing point of view. I mean, you talk about the character of Hare Lib, which we did in League of Gentlemen. And that was Reese's wife, Jane, was working at Les Mis backstage. And there was someone there from Duisburg. And he was quite a camp character. And he used to bemoan the fact that he was the only queen in Duisburg. And the only queen in Duisburg. And it was that combination of queen and Duisburg, but also a camp German. You don't associate German with camp. And so this became a little catchphrase. And the only queen in Duisburg. This is before the only gay in the village. And yeah. So that it was that little nugget, and it sticks with you, and you think, all right, maybe we could do a character. Maybe he's called Hare Lib, and maybe when I do it, I'll put a piece of sellotape across my top lip, and have this sort of rather weird sort of gummy thing. And you can't pinpoint where these characters come from exactly, but it was being playful, I suppose.
I think sometimes it's just a sound, that it's a strange thing, but I used to be a radio presenter in Wales in the mid to late 80s, up to about 91. And I used to do a character on that who was a camp German, but I find a camp German voice to be very pleasing. I aside of it being comic, I like the sound of this sort of talking like this in a sort of gentle, sort of very sensitive way, And he was called Conrad. His name was Conrad Bolivar, right? And I used to do him on a show, and he had a song, and it would go Conrad. I mean, it's just all stupid stuff. I'm not claiming for a second that this is wonderful, right? But he would go Conrad Bolivar, Bolivar, Bolivar. And he had an uncle called Klaus, who was very sinister. And I would play him, and he would go, and we'd play the Romeo and Juliet music. Du, 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 du. And he'd go, I'm looking for Conrad. Have you seen him? and he would be very pantomime-like. Yeah. But if you ask me where that came from, I can only think that it came from, because I bet you're like me, I bet you love the music of a voice.
Yeah.
And I bet you notice things in voices like I do, and I'll bet you sometimes tell people that are not performers or creators, and they look at you like you're mad. They look at you like no. I had a tennis teacher once, who sounded just like Gordon Ramsay. He had the same clipped, almost military rhythms of Gordon Ramsay. And I said, oh God, people must tell you this all the time. He said, no one has ever said it to me. But I'll bet you're like that. You hear things.
Well, definitely. I mean, I always used to think doing languages, which I only did to A-level standard, but if you could get the musicality of the way that the language worked, then it's a lot easier to speak it. Even if you are struggling to get the word will come to you. And it's a really weird thing. I can't explain that. If I was, wenn ich Deutsch sprechen, I mean, I haven't spoken it since I was 18, but there's something that's just in there. And if I can get into the mindset of how it sounds and the music of it, the words might come to me. And it's just these weird connections that your brain makes. Doing characters for the League of Gentlemen, of course, we were 3 actors playing multiple characters in the same show. So you really want to differentiate them. And you really want to push vocally. We do it a lot less on Inside No.9, and I've quite enjoyed doing a lot more, for characters that are more closer to me and just with my voice and not trying to push and strain to create. We've played over 100 characters, over the 3 shows we've done. So I'm not so much pushing to do that anymore. But in the League of Gentlemen, it was so important that every character, visually and audio, they had a distinction. So, okie dokie, pig in the pokey. Somebody used to have this teacher at school who used to chew her, Mrs. Dowding used to chew her lips. Right. And then Pop, what are you talking about? And there was this thing Bernard Manning used to do, and he was hot, and he used to do this thing to get the sweat off his face and drag his hand down. So you draw on all these little things that you can think about. And you try and make the characters extreme in a way. That's what we were doing in League of Gentlemen. But like I say, now I've pulled back from that now, and I'm quite happy now, if I can, to do quite a naturalistic performance. Because you've been in dramas and stuff where you've come from that comedy world, and suddenly you're going into a drama where people are barely moving their lips, and the directors are always going, "Great, Steve, but can we just..." And this is the sort of thing I've come to dread when I'm on another show, is just, can you try and be a real person? And then you kind of go, what does a real person, how does someone walk across a room? How do you, I don't know.
Yeah, I've just finished a 7-month shoot on a thing, and it's a sort of drama comedy romp kind of thing. And, that thing of keeping it small for the camera, it's a real challenge when you are used to playing to audiences. And I feel I did that in Marion and Jeff, and I did that in Human Remains, but if I'm being honest, I can find it very difficult to trust myself enough. It almost feels impolite. It almost feels like I'm not giving them anything.
Exactly.
Do you recognize that?
Totally. Yes, because you just want me to kind of very blandly say the line, not do much with my face, not gesture, not give you a little sort of tweak of this character or a little box of tricks. They used to say when me and Mark were doing drama, "Oh, you were here with your box of tricks," because you would try and give every character something to make them memorable. And I'm not when I did a tiny part in what's that play, The Taming of the Shrew, played the pedant, and my God, I had an asthma inhaler. I had my shirt tailed up and through my flies. I made sure my jacket was 2 sizes too small. I had I had everything but a bit and a butterfly net, because the famous Victoria Wood sketch where they're giving notes on Hamlet. "Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, you're not on long. Make your mark. I don't think it's too..." Make your mark. And that's what I was used to doing. And so it is weird to find yourself doing a scene across a table with David Morrissey when he's doing his really incredibly small performance. And you're like, oh, God, you can do this? You can just talk normally? So I think I've got a bit better at that, but it's taken a long time.
I'll tell you a really good example of that. In about 1991 or 2, I was the presenter of a film review show on Sky that was called Exposure. And each week we would give you a rundown of the films that were coming out that week, and then we may interview the actor, and we'd always be in a different location. And great excitement. Right, we're going to Morocco, and we're going to go on the set of a new Robin Williams film. Imagine that.
Yes.
And it was called Being Human, right? And it was a Bill Forsyth film, Being Human. It didn't do very well, but we went out there, and I got to observe Robin Williams filming a scene, okay?
Wow.
And it was in a studio, and they'd mocked up as if he'd been shipwrecked on a beach, and they had built a tent, and he's in the tent filming this scene with a British actor. So we couldn't see them, but we could hear them. We were all gathered outside, beyond the cameras, obviously. And you'd hear the British actor. The thing is, we're here on this beach, we're here on this beach, and if we're going to get out of here, we've really got to get a plan together. Well, we can get a plan, but I don't know how. This might not be done. Well, you may well say that, but unless we do something, we'll have to... Well, I go, sure. And that was the time that really brought it home to me, the two different styles. But it's I find it very hard. And on the thing I've just done, we were filming a scene, I finished on it 2 days ago, and we were shooting a scene then, and one of the actors, Will Keane, wonderful actor, was doing some stuff, and I was thinking, oh, God, look at that. Oh, that's lovely. That's going to be great on camera, isn't it? And then I pictured perhaps what I'd been doing, old Muggins here, da 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 dee dee da. Where's my butterfly net, as you say? It's a funny adjustment. But then I would say, okay, but Will's not going off and doing live shows and having to make that adjustment.
I think you are very lucky if you get to be in both camps, and we both have had those opportunities doing live stuff, doing comedy. Yeah. I mean, doing a live comedy show, especially when you're coming off the back of TV exposure, is so extraordinary and such a release and such fun. I mean, when we did our first League of Gentlemen tour, this is in the before Twitter and the days where you could find out what people thought of you, for good or ill, immediately. You can't, we had some reviews and we had nice things said about it, but it wasn't until we took it on tour and me and Reese kind of rose up from the ashes of the local shop, and we were suspended with angel wings rising from this smoking thing. And the reaction that those characters got was so moving. And then you look out and you see people dressed as those characters.
Yes.
It was so incredible. But you have then a freedom, because you have that, the audience are there to see you. They're there to see the character they know from the TV. And if something goes wrong, where you forget your lines or you make a mistake, it's not like in a play where that is an embarrassment. In a comedy show, that's a gift. And, so it's very hard to then go into something where you need a lot more discipline and you need to put a lid on all that stuff. But we're very, very lucky to be able to be in dramas, to be in comedies and have variety. I mean, I think you talk about all the different things that we've done. It's that variety that I really love, and why I suppose I've enjoyed playing multiple characters, why I've enjoyed doing an anthology series, and why I've enjoyed one day being, in Britannia playing Emperor Claudius on the back of an elephant with piles and Tourette syndrome, which, there was no that with that performance. It was all guns blazing. And then the next thing I did was playing Tony Martin, in an interrogation thing for, Channel 4, where it had to be word for word at what he had said, because it was a transcript of the police interview with him. And so it had to be very, very real and small. And I love the fact that 1 week I'm doing this riding on a pretend elephant, and the next week I'm in a studio with just one other actor opposite me doing a tiny thing. And then I can go and do a play. I can do a musical. I can, I'm not saying I've done everything I want to do, but if it all ended now, I'd be pretty happy.
Okay, it's not all going to end now. What about, have you done much, I don't know if you have, much front of camera stuff, much presenting things, much Steve Pemberton's Guide to the Lakes or something like that?
No, I haven't. What I've done is quite a lot of quiz shows, which I love. I've always avoided the panel show, try and be funnier than the person next to you. There's plenty of those and plenty of people who do them very well. And as you know, I resisted coming on to Would I Lie to You for the longest time, because I didn't know if I would be well suited on that show. And I just did the series, the most recent series, because my mum is the #1 fan, and I was able to bring it to the studio, and she got in the show. She got a mention from Motsi Mabuse, and was pictured it. So I made her day, and I really enjoyed that. So I think as I get older, I just think, who gives a fuck what if people are going to judge you or think you were very funny there? Or, I mean, I always put the characters I was playing front and center. That was always my thing from the League of Gentlemen. I thought I never want people to be thinking about, oh, it's that guy who I know quite a lot about him. So I always really craved that anonymity as Steve Pemberton. Never did lots of interviews, was always very shy about social media. And I still have a lot of that. But now as I get older, I think if I get offered something and I quite fancy it, yeah, why not? Why not do it? But I've always kept myself fairly private. And I think it allows people then to only see the character. Whereas I think if you have too much of a profile, it can go against that. Do you know what I mean?
It does. The only thing that works against that is that audiences now are so fragmented. I've felt that with some of the stuff I've done. I mean, I've from hosting shows to advertising cruises to this to that. But what you find often is that there are a lot of people who don't even know you do that, because they only kind of, that's my experience, is that they kind of, well, we're looking at that kind of stuff. Oh, I didn't know you did that as well.
Yeah.
And then you'll have the people over here who go, yeah, well, he's just the bloke who does that. And I've found it very interesting to watch actors get older and to start to enjoy other things, whether it's Richard E. Grant wanting to present a show about writers around Europe or hotels I think as you get older, you look at it more as a life experience. And yeah, I want to go and do that. I want to go and experience that. I don't think you've tired of acting, though, have you? I don't think that there's any part of you. I think you seem to still enjoy the act of getting up at the crack of dawn and schlepping into makeup and sitting around for hours on end, which it often involves.
Yeah, I absolutely do. And what I love about this job, and I don't have a plan. I don't have a 5-year career map in front of me. I love the fact that you get one phone call and you'll find yourself doing something extraordinary. And last year I got a call. I did a Zoom meeting with a director and ended up going to Australia to film a film called Better Man, which is the life story of Robbie Williams, in which I had to do a little bit of singing and dancing. And I was filming in Australia. I met Robbie. We were, doing. It's a musical. It's directed by Michael Gracie, who did The Greatest Showman. He's a brilliant musical director. It's a big movie, and that came about because someone else in the cast had seen one of the episodes of Inside No.9, Bernie Clifton's dressing room, where Reese and I played an old double act, and they thought that that
was a brilliant episode. Let me just say, I've told you that myself before, but let's say it for the record. That was glorious.
Well, thank you. It was a real treat to do, and I think I got more and more into writing. I've always thought, well, performance-wise, I'm not as interested. Reese loves the performance. I love the writing. I love crafting these stories, and to me, that's where you've almost done the performance in the writing. So you've almost created it. So when he gets to filming it, you can feel sometimes like, well, I've already been through the creative excitement of this in writing it, and the performance side of it. I can not take it or leave it, but the writing is where I get very excited. But in that particular one, because we were recreating these old comedy acts, we had to come up with some sort of trad comedy routines. And it was just the two of us, and it was a very emotional piece as well. I absolutely loved doing that. But it was a result of this episode. The director watched it and offered me this role in this movie. And I loved the fact that on a Monday, I knew nothing about it. But on a Friday, I was flying to Melbourne, and it'll be out towards the end of this year. And I think it'll be a fantastic movie. And then you don't know where that might lead to. You have no idea. Yeah. And I love the randomness of it all.
And are you playing Robbie at all stages of his life, or just in the Angels, rock DJ? I mean, which Robbie are you? Are you like, because Austin Butler played Elvis right the way through. Are you taking that approach to it?
I'm to take that years.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Naked, writhing in jelly.
Yeah.
Early stuff. Yeah.
But seriously, because some will believe you. Who do you play in it? Can you say?
I probably can say I'm playing his dad. His dad, Pete, who was
also an entertainer, wasn't he?
That's right. And Robbie credits, spending time. He was a holiday camp entertainer, and he used to do the Butlins or whatever they were. Constantly being song, a joke, a dance. And then in the daytime, you're the character who goes round who's got a quip for everybody. So Robbie used to talk about going to visit his dad on these holiday camps, and just the magic of seeing him turn out these, luck be a lady tonight, and then a little quip and a joke. So it's a great role. I really, really enjoyed it. And in the movie, Robbie, the character of Robbie, is portrayed as a monkey, CGI monkey, but a very realistic. Yes, I know. A lot of people find it hard to get their heads around that. It made sense to me. The people who did Planet of the Apes and that very, very realistic monkey. So it's not going to be a cartoon, Curious George kind of monkey. But there's something very vulnerable about the little 7-year-old chimp, Robbie. And he is Robbie. Everyone else is human. He's a monkey. And then he gets older. You've got that thing of being a performing monkey. You've got that thing of having the monkey on your back, which is depression. And he was very truthful about his struggles. It's a very, very dark film in many ways.
Can I ask a question? Is what you just said true, or is that your dark, offbeat humor?
It's true. It's true. I mean, it's out there.
Robbie is a monkey.
Yes, called Robbie Williams, and he joins Take That, and they did some. Robbie did a concert in Melbourne, and the boys who were playing Take That were part of this concert. So that in the middle of this concert, the stage rises up, and you've got 4 brilliantly fit, dancing, singing young men in their 20s playing the Take That boys. And then you've got one guy in a grey catsuit with a camera attached to his head and dots all over, who will be made into a singing, dancing monkey. And the audience didn't have a clue what was going on. But honestly, trust me, it's going to be amazing.
All right. Wow. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. Steve, thanks for doing this. Oh, the lovely, lovely, lovely. I love talking to you. Massive fan. And I always love it when we get to see each other and spend a few brief moments in each other's company.
Oh, well, I loved it too. And thank you for letting me be your ampersand of the week. I assume you'll do some kind of big sort of pre-interview, explanation of who I am and what I've done, or we going in?
I recorded an intro for you,
before
we spoke for the YouTube version, and then I record the podcast audio one afterwards, because I know what we've spoken about, and I can say we talk about this, we talk about that, which seems to be the way they do it in podcasts. And who am I to buck the trend? Well, I'm going to, as Barry Cryer would say, I'm going to give you back your day. And what a delight. Say hello to your mum for me. I know she's a big fan of mine. And
yes.
Let's hope it's not too long before our paths cross. Middle-aged Welshman goes to wellness retreat. Something happens. Somebody gets killed. Who did it? Who didn't do it? You can have Jason Watkins in as well if you want, but let's make it happen.
Okay, I'm going to plug into that AI. I'm going to feed all that in, and we'll see what happens.
Thanks so much, Steve.
What a treat. Thanks, Rob. See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.